there's a phrase that you've probably heard before, and you've probably heard it for a long time in your life. The phrase is, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt you," right? And you're right. That is a lie, right? They tell you that because, you know why they tell you that? They tell you that because they want you to not take the words of other people to heart, right? They don't want you to get hurt by the things people say. When in reality, just by a show of hands, who has been hurt by someone's words before? Right? Wow, okay, hold on. We don't have to say names or point fingers, okay? Listen, but here's the deal. We've all been hurt by someone's words, so we know that this statement is just not true, right? And what we get from this is that words matter, right? That the things that we say, they matter. And in this series, we're doing a series called Pro Tip. This is our final week. If you've missed some of these weeks, that's okay. You didn't need to be at all the other ones to really get what the takeaway is for this one, so I'm glad you're here. We're gonna talk about words tonight. And we're talking about the words that we have in our lives, the things we say to people, the things that get said to us. So here's the thing. We say words, right? And sometimes we get in conflicts. And the words that people say to us and the words that we say to other people, we think that that's going to resolve some kind of conflict. When you get in conflict with other people, what do you tend to do with your words, right? Because some people will yell, right? They get really mad and they yell at other people. When other people get in conflict, they get real quiet, right? And then when some people get in conflict, they get real defensive and they start blaming other people. Right? Now how... we don't have to call people out again. But here's the thing. This is just the deal. When we get in conflict, we do some of those things, and all of those things involve our words in one way or another. So no matter what you do in conflict, words take center stage. No matter what you do, they take center stage. And this is what we can get into trouble with, and this is what we can get hurt by, because sometimes, let's say, we get into a conflict, we use our words, and we say things we don't really mean, or things that we don't really wish we said. Maybe if you've ever lost friends over conversations, maybe you've been in conflict with parents, and you've used your words, and that's broken down relationships with them. Maybe it's a teacher, right? And things that, like, between you and that teacher, there's been a real issue. It could be any number of things where your words create the conflict that's happening. It escalates the situation. And so tonight, we're talking about the power that's in these words. And words have power in your relationship with your friends, your family, teachers, and even strangers, right? So let me do this, right? I've got my phone here in my pocket. All right, so So here's the deal. We all have this thing on our phone, whether we realize it or not. You probably all do, called predictive text. Predictive text, right? Yeah. It's like at the top of your, like if you have an iPhone, I don't know if other phones have it. Yeah, the words that come up, it tries to guess what words you're going to type next, right? No, it's like default on your phone. So here's the point, right? We say words, right? And the words that we say, they're out there. People hear them. They're out there. And that's kind of like what happens on your phone, because if you don't know how predictive text works, it's real simple. The things that you type out, the kind of conversations you have, the things you're looking up, your phone starts to learn that, and it starts to go, okay, I think the next word you want is this, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on here, and my last text conversation is with my friend Lane, who's going to be our speaker at D-Now, and he's very excited to come, and I'm just going to type hey, and then I'm just going to hit the middle word on this for like 20 times, and I'm just going to read what it says. Probably not, but here's what it says. Okay, so I'm just clicking the middle. So, hey, y'all can make a reservation at church or something at the end of the day, so I don't know what to church.
Can you send that? Please send it.
He's going to call me and be like, are you having a stroke? Since. Okay. So, all right. He's going to call me in the middle of this message. So here's the deal. So the words that I type, the things like that come up regularly, or things that like I'm talking or texting with Lane about and all that kind of stuff, the same thing happens on your phone, but also the same thing happens in your life, right? And the words you say, they just like they stick around on your phone memorizes it, the words you say stick with the people in your lives, and they have an impact. And this is tricky. Let me. This is not tricky, but you're going to know this. So check this out. Listen, I want you to hear this. Okay, if I say something like, let's say I had a friend and I said something to them that was incredibly hurtful to them, right? Now, if that's me, 20 seconds later, I might not remember it, right? But 20 years from now, that friend might I remember that time you said this one thing. Let's flip it. Let's say that it's you, and a friend says something to you that really hurts you. You can probably think of an instance where a friend hurt you by the words they said a year ago. Anybody? Right? Or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, maybe it was several years ago, and that still sticks with you. But that person who said it, they might not even remember that conversation. But here's what I want you to see. Once you say that, once someone says something to you that hurts you, or you say something to someone else that hurts them, it's out there, right? You can't take it back. You can't reverse those words because they've been said. And you may regret it and may go, hey, I want to take these words back. I wish I didn't say that. I was mad at that person, and now I've damaged this relationship because of that. Right? And so this is what I want us to see, that the words we say, we may not think they're meaningful, but we know that words matter, and the things that you say have a huge impact on people even longer than you can imagine. So what we say and how we say it often carries more power than we realize. And that's so big for you to know as teenagers at this point in your life, because you have the ability to say things that crush people, right? You also have the ability to say things that encourage people. Your words matter. So, is there a way, realizing all this, thinking about all this, where conflict is inevitable, right? We're going to be in conflict with people, but what happens when we get into conflict? How do we use our words? Is there a way to use our words that isn't leading to this destruction? Layla's right, there is, right? So is there a way for us to have conflict without losing our cool? And today we're going to look again in the book of Proverbs. We've been looking at that all series in Proverbs 15:1. Now, Proverbs is a book of wisdom written by a guy who was king of Israel. His name was Solomon. And he was very wise, very wealthy, very powerful. And he said, hey, listen, I've gathered a lot of wisdom. I've done a lot of dumb things. I've done some great things. But I want people to know this wisdom. Hey, girls, you all pay attention? Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what he does with his wisdom is he writes this book of Proverbs, which is just wisdom sayings. And here's what he says in Proverbs 51, talking about the words that we use. He says this. You can see it on the screen. You can look it up on your phone, whatever you want to do. It says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Okay, so there's two parts to this wisdom saying, and basically it's saying, hey, the gentle answer turns away wrath, harsh stirs up anger. So let's talk about those two things, starting with the second part. It says a harsh word stirs up anger. So what are harsh words? Right? You might be going, what are these harsh words? Yeah, what do you think a harsh word is? Yeah. What do you got? Someone that makes someone feel less than? Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, we don't need personal fights right now. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's a definition that I want you to think about when you think about harsh words. It's this. Harsh words are unpleasant words that are usually spoken with an angry tone, usually with the intention of shutting down the conversation, proving a point, or hurting someone. Okay? And I don't want you to go, like, I know the person in the room that's doing that. Okay, that's not other, like, I want you to be thinking about yourself. Okay? I want you to be thinking about, are there times where I've used harsh words? Right? Because what does Solomon say in Proverbs 15:1? He says, a harsh word stirs up anger. Here's what I want you to see. I want you to see the wisdom in this right here. Listen to this. This is so big. If you understand this, your life will be better. You will make better decisions. You will have better friendships. You'll have better relationships if you realize this. A harsh word stirs up anger. This means when you say something harsh like this to someone else, if you're trying to shut down the conversation, prove a point, or hurt someone, you might be trying to win a conversation, but what you really are doing is you're not winning anything at all. You're just making the other person more angry. If you care about this person and you use harsh words in conflict, you're not resolving the conflict, you're making it worse. If you think that what you say to someone will end a like you'll get the clap back, you'll get the final word, you'll put the stamp on it, whatever you want to think, you think using these harsh words is going to make things better, it's only going to make things worse. The other person's only going to be more angry with you. Now, what's the first part of this verse here is it talks about gentle words. So what are gentle words? Right? They're nice words. Okay, can someone give me another definition? Uplift people, right? Okay, so how about this? Think about this. Don't put your boots on people's chairs. Okay, think about this. Here's what gentle words. Gentle words make it harder to be mad. Right? When you use gentle words with someone else who's in conflict with you, it actually makes it harder for that person to be mad at you. Right? Just like your harsh words escalate a situation, your gentle words, words that show concern, words that show you care about them, this can make it harder for that person to be mad, and maybe you can resolve this conflict. So gentle words make it hard to be mad. There's a part of the Gospels, this is found in John chapter 8, where Jesus does this perfectly. You might have heard this story in John chapter 8. There's this woman who has been caught in adultery, and she's basically a bystander to the Pharisees trying to get Jesus. The Pharisees are trying to basically put Jesus in a corner, trick him, trying to show that he is not the Messiah, show that he is like flawed and that kind of thing. And so they find this woman caught in adultery, and they bring her before Jesus, and they say, "Hey, Jesus, this woman has been caught in adultery. Do we need to go ahead and do what the law says and stone her to death?" Which literally means you throw stones at someone until they die. And so they're basically proposing this because they're like, we're going to trick Jesus. We're going to get him to say that either you have to stone her to put her to death, or he's going to disagree, and then he's going to be disobeying the law of Moses. Right? So they're trying to catch Jesus. So Jesus is put in this conflict with these religious leaders, and Jesus sits there, takes a moment, takes a breath, looks down at the ground, draws in the sand a little bit, and then he has one of the most profound responses that you have probably heard, and if you didn't know that it was Jesus, Jesus said this, and his words are still super meaningful today. He says to the religious leaders who brought this woman forward, he says, "Let any of you who is without sin cast the first stone." So Jesus didn't go, "Y'all are crazy, I can't believe you did, like, why would you even ask me that?" Or, "Y'all, you know what the law," like he did not use harsh words. He used gentle words, and he just said, "Hey, if no one has sinned here, go ahead." You know what happened? All the religious leaders get up, and one by one they walk away. Because they realized okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, this guy, like, we're not going to trap him. And they can't even get that mad at him because he didn't use harsh words. Because he made his point with gentle words. And here's the thing, is in gentle words doesn't mean that you don't say the truth. Gentle words don't mean that you don't tell people right from wrong, or you don't try to resolve a conflict. Or gentle words just means like, hey, I'm not going to escalate this situation to make you more mad. And so here's our bottom line for tonight that I want you to take away, I want you to learn from this and put this wisdom into your life. If you want to be heard, use gentle words. If you want to be heard, use gentle words. Let's all say it together. You ready? If you want to be heard, use gentle words. Right? And so here's the deal. Are you ever heard? Well, let me put it this way. Let me flip it this way. If someone's using harsh words to you, are you listening?
Yes.
Right? You want to just shut down, right? You don't want to hear it. You're not wanting to, like, if someone uses harsh words with you, you're like, I don't want this conversation. Right? Right. It doesn't get any better, does it? It might lead to you getting harsh words, right? So here's the deal. If you want to be heard, you use gentle words. If you want to resolve conflict with other people, you don't use harsh words, you use gentle words. And so this is what I want you to see. Another thing about gentleness, gentleness is not weakness, right? Gentleness is not weakness. In fact, Jesus was gentle, but Jesus was not weak, right? Jesus was gentle in his words, but it didn't mean that he didn't tell the truth. It didn't mean that he didn't correct when it needed to be done. So, here's a question that I want you to think about, and we're going to talk about this, is would you rather make a point or be heard? Right? Okay, so here's the deal. Would you rather make a point or be heard? And here's the question, right? When you use harsh words, you're wanting to really make a point, right? You're wanting to make sure someone hears what you say. But like we said, when you use harsh words to make a point, people don't hear you. So do you want to make a point and escalate the conversation and everyone just be mad, or do you want to be heard and possibly resolve the issue at hand? Okay? So, like, we heard mixed answers because I think we deep down, we do want to make a point, right?
Yep.
Like, we want to be right. But when we have to be right, when we have to make a point, harsh words come out and we're not heard. Okay? So how do we do this, right? Let's talk about it. Making a point, right? Making a point is just saying, listen, this is what's right. I'm just going to let you know, and that's it, right? And the people don't hear you. When we talk about being heard allows for real, actual conversation to happen. So what does this look like in real life? Okay? Let me tell you, there's 2 application points you can take away, okay, as we kind of come to an end here, as we kind of wrap this up. 2 things I want you to see. If you want to be heard, then you need to be the first one to hear. If you want to be heard, then you need to be the first one to hear, which this means you're in a conflict with someone. You obviously have a disagreement. Could be a friend, could be a parent, could be a sibling, could be someone like a teacher, coach. Right? You have some kind of a disagreement, right? You feel one way, this other person feels the other way, and they want to tell you what their problem is, and you want to tell what your problem is. But if both people want to make their point, they're not listening, right? So if you really want to be heard, then you have to be the first person to listen to what the other person is saying. And I know, I get it. In a conflict, the last thing we want to do is humble ourselves and say, okay, like, let me process what your issue is. Let me hear what you're saying. And here's something you can do. This is definitely a counseling technique, right? If you want to really hear someone, When they say something to you, say, okay, I heard you say this, and then just repeat the same thing that you heard back to them. And this is called active listening. And here's what happens, and I know this because I'm not a counselor or anything like that, but I do premarital stuff, premarital coaching, and this is like an exercise that you can do, and what will happen is you'll have a couple who's in disagreement, like a married couple. And someone will say, I hate when you leave your socks on the floor, right? Thank you. I do that all the time. Okay, so this is a real conversation between me and my wife. So Kendall says, or not Kendall, but somebody says, the one spouse says to the other, I hate when you leave your socks on the floor. I can't stand it. I need you to do that for me, because if you don't, it really gives me a lot of anxiety and I feel the house is dirty. Right? Okay, then the other person, okay, you go, okay, what did you hear? What did that person say? And they'll say, I heard they think I'm a slob and I destroy the house. And guess what? That's not what they said. They said, I don't like that you leave your socks on the floor because it makes the house feel dirty and it gives me anxiety. And so, if you want to practice this ability of hearing someone first, be able to actually say what they said to you back to them. I mean, that will help you hear what they say. Okay? So, if you want to be heard by someone else, you must be the first one to hear. You've got to. You have to be the first person to hear. If you want to be heard, you must be the first person to hear. And the second thing is this. Second thing you can do when you want to practice using gentle words and not harsh words is consider just taking a time out. I know, it sounds silly. We're not in elementary school, right? But sometimes just being able to take a time out and go, hey, all I want to say to you right now is something really mean. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to go over here, and I'm not going to say anything until I can put together some gentle words. Right? And listen, this may sound silly, and this may sound like a lot of work, and it kind of is. But what's the alternative? The alternative is you always use harsh words, you never hear what someone else says, and you never resolve conflict the right way, and you're always burning bridges in your life. If you want to be heard, you got to use gentle words. And this is something that we can practice as Christ followers. And this is a way that we can love people. This is a way that we can live out the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness. Right? Well, this is part of that practice of learning patience, is learning to use gentle words. I just want you to imagine for a second how your life could be different. Relationships you've had in the past, things that people have said to you, said to them, how those could have played out different if you would have taken a time out, taken a break, and used some gentle words and not harsh words. So here's what I want to do, just for 30 seconds. I'm going to put a question up on the screen, and I want everyone to close their eyes, and don't fall asleep, sit straight up, but I want you to think about this question and answer it in your head. Okay, so here's the question. How are you currently using the power of your words? Are you using them to make harsh words or gentle words? Let's close our eyes and think about that for 30 seconds. You can open your eyes up. And I just want you to think about this not only right now, but I want you to think about this question. How are you using the power of your words? Think about it this week. As we get ready for small groups on Sunday, and we're going to talk more about this, but I want you to think, how are you using the power of your words? Let me go ahead and pray. Lord, thank you that you gave us this wisdom. Lord, thank you that Jesus set the example of how to use our words. Lord, that we as Christ followers can pick up and imitate Christ and use our words not to escalate a situation, but, Lord, to de-escalate it. Lord, because we need to use our gentle words and not our harsh words. Those show love to our friends and our family and our neighbors. Lord, I ask this all in your name. Amen.